ADOS and our allies. You know who it is. Hey, it's Angela Nirvana, your hostess with the mostest on the Friends of ADOS TV channel, bringing you those ADOS hot topics, and Angela Nirvana presents The Way I See It. Good evening on the West Coast. Good evening in the Central. Good evening on the East Coast. Thank you so much for joining the live. Welcome. File on in. Yes, we've got Prejudential today. It's been about a week. I'm very behind on giving you your readings on your presidents from George Washington to Donald Trump, and how all of them have had their foot on the necks of ADOS since we were dragged over here in chains, family. Yes. So I'm leveraging this to help you understand why the lesser of two evil, two-step shuffle to our own demise and peril in this country must stop this election cycle, family. And I'm leveraging the book club series to share with you that if you don't learn from your history, you are bound to repeat it over and over and over again. Okay, family? We are at George Floyd, 8 minutes, 46 seconds to the neck. We are at Jacob Blake, 7 shots to the back in front of 3 of his children. We are at Daniel Prude, suffocated by a spit hood while naked after having a psychotic breakdown in the streets of New York prior to George Floyd. We've got Breonna Taylor, 8 shots in her home, in her bed while asleep. We've got Ahmaud Arbery, shot, executed by the race soldiers without a badge, while jogging while black. Oh, so many more. Elijah McClain, sweet as an angel, executed by the race soldiers after coming home from buying tea, walking back from the store. Okay, so the revolution is now. If you're not ready for that, get off my show. This ain't for you. This is for folks who are on the fence about what they gonna do with the only commodity we've got left. That vote, baby. White folks share 100 trillion household dollars to ADOS, who built all the wealth they benefit from. 700 billion. 90% of black folks in this country is ADOS, American descendants of chattel slavery. And this government, Democrats and Republicans alike, have been responsible for tethering us to the bottom as the bottom caste in this country. And the ADOS movement says, no more. This election cycle, that stops. And this will be the tune and the square we are on until they cut that check and deliver that black agenda and enforce the items on it to make American descendants of chattel slavery a protected class in this country that our ancestors built with their lives. We made cotton king to the tune of $42 trillion, family. Be proud of that. Be proud of what you descend from. That strength courses through your body. It is a part of your DNA, a part of your fabric, a part of your ability to survive. But our ancestors didn't give up their lives for us to put our intellect in the trunk when it comes to this vote. So this show is for the revolutionaries. This show is for the woke boomers. This show is for the work Gen Xers. This show is for the woke millennials. If you ain't ready to burn the mother sucker down, get off my channel, because that's what I'm here to do. And I'm here to make the case, like I said, that this book club series and all of the stuff that's happening to ADOS throughout this country. Enough is enough. Yes, indeed. So follow on in, start your watch parties. Let me say hello to my guests. What's up, the Black Collect? Thank you for joining the live. Williams Dickens, thank you for joining the live. Chris, 9087, thank you for joining the live. Johnny, 69 3942. Thank you for joining the live. Joel Jones, you know I love you, Black and Strong sister. Thank you for joining the live. Michael William Anthony Brown, what's up, fam? Thank you for joining the live. Oh, yes. Follow in. It's story time, family. It's story time, family. Let's get this in. Okay? Because the ADOS movement is very awoke. Unlike far too many of us in our lineage, but we are done stick a fork in us. So I'm going to jump right in because I really don't want to detain you long. And y'all know I get a little chatty, and I know y'all didn't read your chapters, so I'm just going to read a few of my highlights. Ida B. Wells 2.0. I love it. Thank you, family, the Black Collect. I just love y'all. If y'all have comments or questions, just put it in the chat. But this is story time, and I just need to make the case for why we are disrupting this election cycle, why we are being COINTELPRO'd, okay, as the ADOS movement. I'm so proud of each and every one of you. I'm proud to be amongst you. I'm proud to be a soldier in this army called the ADOS movement, and I'm doing everything in my power to win more soldiers that are brave enough to break the back of the establishment and burn the mother sucker down. It is time for us to leverage the only commodity we've got, that vote. This does not stop until we stop being afraid to leverage the only commodity we've got. We have got to send a message to the Democrats. Now, we are not encouraging anyone not to show up to vote. As a matter of fact, we need you to show up in Obama-style numbers and vote this election cycle henceforth. We need you to fill in at the top of the ticket. Green Party is what I'm filling in because they're offering reparations and a very humane platform for everyone else. I love that an ADOS woman is running for vice president. She is a truck driver and single mother, Angela Walker. And Howie Hawkins, he's more of an environmentalist. He's running on that president's piece. Now, we don't expect him to win, of course not, but we need a third party. And I say the ADOS movement needs to take over the Green Party since they are for reparations. I say you go over there to gp.org, check them out, and consider putting them at the top of the ticket, because if we can get them to 5%, really need to push them to 10%, we can have them on every ballot throughout this country and really bring down the establishment. That is the goal that's my goal. And I really pray that many of you in the ADOS movement get on board with that as a mission. We need another party. This is clearly not working. Clearly not working for ADOS, and it hasn't worked for us since we were dragged over here, sold over here, stolen over here for chattel slavery. So this book, Prejudential, you must have a copy. It is very easy read. I mean, it's easy to read like a fifth grader. It's by Margaret Kimberley, and she talks specifically, you know how Yvette Carnell does, how everything she does is specific to ADOS politics. Well, this book does that in these nice little, very, very short chapters, tells you, oh my God, all of the puck-ish that has happened to us since being dragged here, okay? And so today I'm reading from James Monroe, and one of the founding fathers, and John Quincy Adams. I'm going to try to make this brief, but I have to read to you because you guys haven't read your work. And it's very easy and very short, and we're going to get in and out of here, hopefully within 45 minutes. Okay, let's get it. Let's go. I will leave a little room to visit your chats and your comments over here. Okay, so let's deal with James Monroe. 1817 to 1825, he was the president. Now, I want to give you a little context. Let me jump back to my notes. I want to give you a little context about what was going on during that time. Okay. In 1816, the American Colonization Society is formed to relocate free African Americans to Africa. Okay, so after they used us up for slavery, they were trying to send us back to Africa. 1820 was the Missouri Compromise, banning slavery above 3630 in latitude, 36 degrees, 30 feet in latitude. Okay, let's jump right in. James Monroe. Okay, Monroe was infamous for many reasons. He was a slaveholder, accelerated the theft of indigenous lands to hasten the spread of slavery, and declared that all of the Western Hemisphere, North, Central, and South America was the domain of the United States. Okay? The policy that came to be known as the Monroe Doctrine was buried in the annual message to Congress on December 2nd, 1823. Now, I'm going to come back to that. Let me jump over here to number 2. Monroe denied giving Jackson permission to invade Florida. But more significant now is the role that historians play in covering up this and other crimes committed by U.S. presidents. Jackson made the case in a letter to Monroe that the invasion could be carried out without implicating the government. Instead of pointing out that Jackson was acting in accord with the interests and goals of the government, historians advance Monroe's implausible claim that he never saw the letter because Monroe didn't have a secretary at the time and was ill and didn't read the letter until a year later when Congress was investigating Jackson's actions. And what I am referring to here is in 1817, President Monroe and his partner in crime, General Andrew Jackson, decided to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. They plotted to attack Seminole Indians in Florida territory who were aiding escaped slaves from Georgia, Alabama, and South Carolina. In doing so, they also established American designs on this Spanish territory. Jackson invaded Florida, captured a Spanish fort at St. Mark's, deposed the Spanish governor in Pensacola, and executed 2 British citizens accused of aiding the Spanish. So you see, if you were helping us as slaves, their white wrath came upon you ferociously, okay? So this is talking about that invasion. The incursion created a stir in Washington, but Jackson was never punished. Secretary of State John Quincy Adams defended Jackson, and the attack gave Adams the leverage he needed to force Spain to cede that territory to the United States. Okay, jumping down, like most white Americans of his day, Monroe was fearful of the presence of the minority Black population who were free. Did you hear that? Like most white Americans of his day, Monroe was fearful of the presence of the minority Black population who were free. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Sound like the excuse the race soldiers lead, the race soldiers state whenever they execute our brothers and sisters with impunity. This is how you know Joe Biden and Kamala aren't serious about any real reform, because they would do away with qualified immunity if this was serious. We had reforms in place. And look at the litany of bodies over the past 10 years alone of ADOS. And nobody better not dare tell me that Black on Black crime and Black on Black murders constitute the race soldiers being able to execute us with impunity. One has nothing to do with the other. Black on Black crimes and murders are a consequence of a lack of resources. Every group, when you rob them of resources, turn one on another because that is who is in their communities. We weren't doing this back in the era of the boomers' comeuppance with affirmative action after the civil rights protest. Okay, nobody murders people and robs from people when they've got something to live for. No one does that. No one loots and burns down buildings and burns cars and burns police stations when they've got something to live for. Hello, looters during the protest. So let's stop pretending like this is how we're wired as a people. This is institutional, systemic racism at its lowest common denominator. Out to tether us to the bottom permanently. The goal of the Democrats this election cycle, if you're not awoke, is to replace you with the Republican vote and the immigrants. We have got to stop this. with everything in us, because this is the Titanic that will absolutely sink the ADOS people in this country. And we will never get our justice claim if we've got the likes of Obama, Nobama, and Kamala the Chameleon at the head of this country, or any immigrant, therefore, like them. Yes, they were born in America to immigrant parents. Well, Kamala was. Barack is truly African-American, father being Kenyan born and mother being white. The mother descends from slave owners. And therefore, Barack Obama was a no to our reparations. And he helped produce 100, I want to say, 1 million white millionaires during his reign in office, while telling us no to reparations, as white folks share 100 trillion to ADOS 700 billion, and we made cotton king to the tune of 42 trillion. Moving on, I'll be putting my own little comments in between my reads, okay? Y'all know how I do. Okay. He and other slaveholders, including Andrew Jackson and Francis Scott Key, established the Society for the Colonization of Free People of Color of America in 1816, with the goal of sending the free Black population out of the country. It eventually became known as the American Colonization Society, or in acronym ACS. A historical irony exists in the fact that Monroe's role in the founding of the ACS led to his name being forever linked to that of an African country. Liberia's capital, Monrovia, is named for a man who kept Black people enslaved and wanted others to be shipped off so they wouldn't interfere with the justifications for human ownership. We see you, Monrovia, Africa. At the same time that Monroe was promoting settler colonialism, he also oversaw the expansion of slavery in the recently acquired territories. The Missouri Compromise of 1820 did two things. It admitted 2 states into the Union, Maine as a state that prohibited slavery, and Missouri as one allowing it. And it limited slavery to those portions of the Louisiana Purchase below 36° 30' latitude, with the exception of Missouri. These machinations kept in place the precarious balance that allowed Northerners to think of themselves as enlightened and gave Southerners the incentive to ask for more. Now back to the policy that came to be known as the Monroe Doctrine. It was buried in the annual message to Congress on December 2nd, 1823. The occasion has been judged, and I quote, proper for asserting as a principle in which the rights and interests of the United States are involved, that the American continents, by the free and independent condition which they have assumed and maintained, are henceforth not to be considered as subjects for future colonization by any European powers. In other words, any further efforts by Europe to colonize parts of the Americas would be treated as acts of aggression. The immediate target of the Monroe Doctrine was the Holy Alliance of monarchies in the post-Napoleonic era of Europe. Historians have characterized the policy as the world's only liberal democracy, the United States taking a stand against autocracy. But it must be remembered that at this time, free Blacks did not enjoy equal protections and rights. We still don't to this day. We don't even have the right to live. And let me share with you something, family. None of us are free until all of us are free. It's not okay for us as unicorns to be able to have these luxuries and bury our head in the sand while our brothers and sisters who have been tethered to the bottom by institutional systemic racism suffer in their communities at the hand of the race soldiers. No part of that is okay. You shouldn't even be able to sleep at night knowing what is happening to our brothers and sisters, young and old alike. It should disturb you all the way down to your pinky toe. And we need to do something revolutionary and very radical, because this has been going on since we were drug here. This is not the time to be afraid. Yes, there will be casualties, but that's going to happen to ADOS no matter who's in office. And the beauty of allowing the Democrats to fail this election cycle is that they get a chance for a do-over in 2024. And if we don't defeat them, understand that every other group will be lulled to sleep with their wealth and their riches off of our oppression while we're the only ones suffering. And right now, my misery enjoys company because misery gets ish done. You see all these folks marching in the streets. As soon as they're marching as hard for reparations to make ADOS whole in the trillions over multi-generations, then we will have a successful protest. But Black lives don't matter without the resources to be American. And I refuse to continue to vote as a mule for the Democratic Party to my people's own peril and extinction. Anywho, moving on. Moreover, okay, I want to read that again. But it must be remembered that at this time, free Blacks did not enjoy equal protections and rights, and the millions of enslaved were regarded as property with no rights at all. Moreover, future American presidents would repeatedly cite the doctrine to support and justify U.S. aggression. The Eisenhower administration used it to justify a coup against the democratically elected government of Jacobo Arbenz in Guatemala in 1954. Ronald Reagan used it as an effort to subvert left-wing governments in Central America. And in 2019, Donald Trump's national security advisor, John Bolton, asserted in an interview that the U.S. would have the right to take action against leftist governments in Venezuela, Cuba, and Nicaragua, simply because they are in the Western Hemisphere. In this administration, he said, we're not afraid to use the word Monroe Doctrine. A legacy that ought to have been thoroughly discredited is instead used to commit aggressions nearly 200 years later. Let that sink in. Moving on to John Quincy Adams, and I'll look at the comments and we can be out of here until tomorrow when I'll bring you two more dreadful precedents against the ADOS. Our ancestors lived through this, and look at what we're having to endure because we keep up with this lesser to evil two-step shuffle to our own demise. No money, all we got is our vote. And y'all want to sit up here and act like our ancestors died for this. This is 2020. And these race soldiers are executing us under qualified immunity. And Biden wants to give more money to the police. Let that sink in. John Quincy Adams, 1825 to 1829, President John Quincy Adams, like his father, was nominally opposed to slavery, but often took actions that instead expanded its reach. When in the Senate, for instance, he supported the Louisiana Purchase, which increased the size of the slaveholding regions. As Secretary of State under President James Monroe, he supported Andrew Jackson's invasion of Florida, even as other cabinet members condemned it. He was also the architect of the Monroe Doctrine. However, he did oppose the annexation of Texas and the subsequent war against Mexico expressly because he knew that these actions were meant to expand slavery. You see the oxymoron here? This is what folks like to tell you every time you remind them that Joe Biden was the author of the 94 crime bill that Clinton executed. They want to forget all about that and jump to the kinder, older, demented Joe Biden to try to paint him as a harmless racist. when he was a segregationist and a racist to his core. I played it on yesterday's show, an excerpt of Joe Biden going in on the Senate floor to get what he wanted named Biden's law pushed through the Congress. Now we have close to 1 million Black men on lockdown, more than all the women on lockdown throughout the world. Okay? And no, we don't just need qualified immunity. We also need the right to be American with the best in education for free, the best of federal jobs guarantees with salaries that make us American, not this $15 an hour crap that they're trying to push down your throat as they cut back the workers' hours. The best of federal health care, free. Just go to ADOS101.com and you will see the list of our demands. And while we're standing on our square and breaking the back of this establishment, this election cycle and henceforth, until the Democrats get that you owe us for riding with you as your mules for 55 plus years and counting. Anywho, back to the text. Following his presidency, Adams distinguished himself in the rhetorical fight against slavery as a member of the House of Representatives from 1831 to 1848. As there weren't many true abolitionists, the most that could be expected of Adams, or most white people during this time, was that they opposed the spread of slavery. The spread of it, not the institution itself. You see? You see how they do? He made a name for himself as a staunch opponent of the gag rule, which at this time prevented discussion or debate in Congress on the issue of slavery by automatically tabling any such petition brought before them without discussion or referral to committee. A Virginia political rival called him the acutest, the astutest, the archest enemy of Southern slavery that ever existed. That description comes with a caveat that any inconvenience to the slavocracy was treated as abolition. So even just the slowing of it, was treated as a major threat. Adams and others wanted to make slave trading illegal in Washington, D.C. and brought other motions to the House. Adams used anti-slavery petitions in his defense, thereby allowing himself to be censored for violating the gag rule. Under his leadership, the rule finally came to an end in 1844. Adams held a Northerner's point of view during his time in political office. He was an accommodationist on the issue of slavery. Reminds me of Obama's no to reparations. An accommodationist. For too long, people like Adams have been given credit that they didn't deserve. While abolitionists began to speak openly about ending slavery, people like Adams considered themselves revolutionary by talking about incremental changes that limited the practice of slaveholding, even though they did not do anything substantive to end the practice. Adams made numerous statements about the evil of slavery, but he always added that it couldn't end unless the people who profited from it would agree to end it. Despite being callow, his prediction was correct. The slaveholders would not give up their chattel without a bloody fight. Adams and his ilk merely put off the day of reckoning. Adams himself moved from saying that slaveholders were kind to saying that slavery was a great evil that would end, but only by first breaking the nation apart. He thought it unlikely that the Missouri Compromise would end debate over slavery, writing in 1820, quote, "The president thinks this question will be winked away by a compromise, but so do not I. Much am I mistaken if it is not destined to survive his political and individual life and mine." Instead, he called the Missouri Compromise a mere preamble, a title page to a great tragic volume. Adams' most positive role in U.S. history took place years after his defeat by Andrew Jackson in the 1828 election. In 1839, the Spanish schooner Amistad, which was a movie, look it up if you haven't seen it, held newly captured Africans in Cuba. As it prepared to sail from one part of that island to another, the captors, led by a man named Cinque, took control of the ship, killed all but 2 crew members, and directed the survivors to return them to their homeland. The sailors did not navigate toward Africa, of course not, and instead went north to the United States, where the ship was captured off the coast of Connecticut. Adams argued for the Africans in the 1814 Supreme Court case that gave Cinque and the others their freedom. He certainly deserves some credit for that act, but that contribution does not take the place of the timidity and acquiescence of Adams and his fellow Northerners in their inaction elsewhere. While in Congress, Adams led the charge against the annexation of Texas, an issue that was a direct result of slavery expansion. Slaveholding Southerners had been migrating to this Mexican province for years in the hope that it would eventually be annexed by the United States. When Mexico abolished slavery in 1829, the migrant slaveholders revolted, and after winning military victory in 1836, they declared themselves to be an independent nation. The Republic of Texas rewrote its constitution, declared slavery legal, and petitioned to be annexed by the United States. Adams and others managed to delay the inevitable until 1845. In closing, John Quincy Adams was an apologist, say, a man of his times. He contributed to slavery and conquest by white settlers. On only 2 occasions with respect to Ahmaud case and the annexation of Texas, did he do the right thing? And only after he was no longer president. The truth is that Adams realized, as did his fellow early presidents, that slavery in a moral sense is an evil. But as connected with commerce, it has important uses, which dictated that their opposition to it would be minimal. Is it the same true for private prisons? You can pay lip service to it all day. But Kamala told the governor of the state of California that when the jails were overcrowded, and he told her to let the nonviolent offenders free, Kamala told him no. She needed the prisoners / slaves to put out the fires that you now see blazing all around us in the hills where the white homes are. She needed those prisoners to put out those fires for $2 a day. And now they're paying lip service to more useless reform. If you don't decimate private prisons and qualified immunity, you're not serious about the liberation of ADOS and their conditions. If you aren't talking reparations, you're not serious about closing the egregious racial wealth gap. You're just not. It's a lie to pander for your vote and to put you to sleep. And like I said, those of us that are fortunate enough to have employment through a COVID crisis, we are the unicorns. The rest of our people are fully in a state of emergency. And the only way to change the course of this train wreck is to let America fall as we know it. It is clearly not working for ADOS. Let me get to my comments and we'll close out the show in prayer. Hey, all right. I love that blue. Oh, thank you. I try to keep it fancy for y'all. I try. Green Party 2020, Democrats down ballot. Check them out. gp.org. Johnny6942 says Trump 2020. I am more afraid of the extinction of ADOS in the country our ancestors built with their lives than I am with Trump. No one has yet to share me what he's done more egregious to ADOS than to lock up 1 million of us as the new slaves. He's mean and a racist. They all are. Even the black ones are white supremacists in blackface. They are paid to keep us oppressed. So it doesn't matter to me. Jay Bird, welcome to the live. Hey, Angela, always good to hear you. Thank you so much, family. My mama, a virgin, welcome to the live. How do you feel about the Georgia Freedom Initiative? I don't know about that, family. Sounds like a show topic. I'm going to have to go back and look that up. Jonathan Clark, welcome to the live. Marshall Parson, welcome to the live. Dawn Austin Page, you know I love you, Black and Strong. Welcome to the live, family. Who is the author again? The author of this book is Margaret Kimberley. You see how short and sweet the chapters are? She puts it down in a button. Thank you, Joelle, for helping out by typing the name of the author. She gets that in a cliff note. She's telling you what's going on with our people. I love y'all, Black and Strong. Stefan Boykin, thank you for joining the live. Beshtash Samseen, thank you for joining the live. Joe Hankins, I'm sorry, my love. Thank you for joining the live. Absolutely. Whites did it, Italians, Russians. I think she's referring to the race wars that happened within our own communities, the black on black crime. Joe is letting us know that Italians, Russians, who are the redheaded ones before they were made white? Oh my God. The Irish. Okay, while folks are sitting up here clutching their invisible pearls and acting like they don't understand how we got to black on black crimes and murders in our community. Institutional systemic racism. They're denied opportunities. And they can't afford to leave. I'll remind you that out here in LA, ADOS are $200 liquid, 90% on Skid Row, while African immigrants are $60,000 liquid. I remind you that ADOS is $8 liquid in Boston. To Caribbean immigrants, I want to say $12,000 liquid. No, that's in terms of total. I think that's in terms with respect to total assets. ADOS is $700 in total assets, $670 liquid in Boston. To Caribbean immigrants, $12,000 total assets. Yeah, ADOS is worth about $8. In Miami, $11. You are telling the truth. Keep teaching, lady. Thank you, my love. That's Joe. I love her. Liberia, which is now overrun with the same ills that all ADOS in America. That's why folks are clamoring to get over here with their money. Africans, anyway. You know, they come over here with their money and mark off African American for the entitlements that were intended to make us whole and get access to the free education and just suck up all the air in the room. Suck up all the roles. I think I just heard on Yvette's show last night, another African is playing Malcolm X and another one of our great he's playing Obama and Malcolm X. Well, ADOS need work. We're being left out and cut out of every industry because what you may not understand is that African and Caribbean immigrants placate to the comforts of white folks in a way that ADOS does not. We're going to give you that work. Okay, if you do anything to discriminate against us, we're suing. If you suppress the wages, if you don't give us rights and access to unions, this is why we're being cut out of all the industries as they come up over us. Talk that talk. Say cool, say. Thank you for joining the lives. Talk that talk, sister. They're not ready. Joe says, I am not Joe Biden's immigrant. Okay. Okay. John Mitchell, welcome to the live. Hell no, Crime Bill Joe. I love it. Michael says, facts. Daddy 25, what's up? Thank you for joining the live. Quick question, you single? Okay. Listen here. That's not the show. Thank you, though. I'm flattered. I'm charmed. Thank you. Stefan Boykin, Democratic down ballot is the only way to go on November 3rd, 2020. Yes, it is. Denise Jarrett, expert stylist, Margaret Kimberley. Thank you guys for being my keyboard warriors. Look at that. What time is it? 7:10? Ooh, I did that show in what? 40 minutes? Hey, now I'm getting better and better. Okay, so family, get your books. Although you know I love to read, I want you to be able to have a conversation and be able to make the parallels between history and now, current day. So, before I let you go, Yvette Carnell, I love her. She's got such a big audience that this book that we were planning to get done by November, can you see it? It's called Cast by Isabel Wilkerson. Yvette was slow in deciding what her book club read was going to be after I decided this was going to be done by the first Friday in November. She's moved the date up to September 24th. So get your book Cast, okay? And let's do this one over on Yvette's show. And I'm going to do Dr. William Sandy Darity's book for that last Friday. And this book, The Warmth of Other Suns by the same author. Do you see how thick this book is? We were supposed to complete this book by October 2nd. It's not happening, family. I think I'm going to have to split this one in 3 parts and just do, like a 3-week kind of overview of this book. It's way too thick. I'm going to give you the new dates because if we got to get Yvette's, if we got to get this one read, if we have to get this one read by September 24th, we ain't getting this one done by October 2nd. So let me sit with my calendar and reschedule the shows for this one. Please read this and join Yvette Carnell at Breaking Brown on September the 24th. And I will put in the information for you to purchase Darity's book for the last Friday of November's, the first Friday of November. I think it's going to be post the elections. I'll get all that together. You'll see the postings coming out soon. Buy it in audio and published at the same time. Oh, that's a brilliant idea. I like that idea. Absolutely do that. Okay, family, that's our show. That's our time together. And I want to pray us out. You know, I like to put a covering over us. If that's not your thing, I love you black and strong. Bye. For those of you who love to be covered and to be reminded of who you are, remember that the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us. Wherever ADOS and its allies are, God truly is, because guess what, family? You are the face of God. You are the voice of God. You are the body temple of the Spirit of the living God. Until tomorrow, family, when we will be covering, where are my glasses? Oh my God. Andrew Jackson, Freeman's Bureau Bank, and Martin Van Buren. You go out here in these streets and act like you know who you are, and you make it a beautiful, God-inspired rest of your evening. I love you, black. I love you, strong. Ciao for now, family. Until tomorrow. Peace. Deuces.